Everything is possible for you. You don't need to know how to do it right now. I felt like this heart glow, Joshua, coming out of
Yeah.
my chest. And Bob Proctor said that's your heart chakra is probably activated to a certain extent. You can remold your entire life.
Curious about how you can level up your manifestation practice? What if the act of listening to music could empower you and heal you? Welcome to Superstates, Practices of Transformation. Superstates explores the fascinating intersection of trance states with personal growth, and we dive into all the ways you can access altered states of consciousness to make changes in your life. In each episode, we talk to world-class experts, industry leaders, and revolutionary thinkers who share the latest information and tools and their own personal stories to inspire you on your own journey. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Michele Blood, a dynamic teacher of mysticism and manifestation who started her career as a rock singer. After a life-altering accident, Michele discovered the power of affirmations and music to heal and transform her life. Now she's passionate about helping others tap into their full potential using these same tools. In this conversation, you'll hear how Michelle's pretty unique approach combines music and positive thinking and meditation to create lasting change. Here we go. Use affirmations and music to manifest your desires with Michele Blood. Welcome to Super States. I am here today with Michele Blood. Michele, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joshua Tree.
Michele, I always like to get a feel for my guests by asking them, what is it that you do? So share with us what you do, but also how that makes an impact on people's lives.
Well, it's all in one basket, but it sounds like it's a lot of different baskets, but it's not. It's all under mysticism and mind. I teach people, I have affirmation pop songs that have been downloaded millions of times all over the world. Got over 400 songs, many albums. And so they create great healing and change people's minds without them having to emotionalize it or think about it. And I also have apps with my team to do with manifestation and mysticism and meditation and prayer. Lots of amazing apps to do, see, again, in the same basket. I also teach deep mysticism and deep meditation. And I also teach how to write a book, business. See, I like to, everything that I've ever learned, because I was a rock singer in Australia, everything that I've ever learned as a rock singer, as a manager of my band, as a singer-songwriter, as a business person, because if you can manage your own band and make it become extremely successful in your country and then overseas, you're a good business person. So I like to teach people a little bit of everything. And so my seminars are sort of a little bit rock concerty, along with quieter times of meditation, and they're just a whole lot of fun, but they really change people's paradigm and the way they think and consciousness, because it's all consciousness.
Yeah.
And so that's what it is. It's all of that plus more. Big umbrella with one big basket.
Yeah. And you know what I like about how you just described that is we go through life and we kind of have these experiences, and you probably had this experience too. Like I know I have. How does this all fit together? And as you're kind of trying this over here and you try this over there, and what it sounds like you've done is found a way to basically bring all of your life experiences together into how you can help people.
Yes, and it's all happened through spirit. It's all been through consciousness. None of it was intended, because I was happy as a rock singer. We just got our big record label. We were touring at one stage 7 years non-stop, which is a world record in Australia, I
Wow.
think, or something. And the venues in Australia back in the 80s were huge. So you had to have a huge following before a record label would even sign you. So we worked our guts out for years before we got a record label. So it's very, very tough. It's a tough world, but I loved it. So I had no sense of ever doing anything different. So it's quite fascinating the way our spirit works from our past lives karma, from our experience. It's just it's just fascinating to me. I love to assist people to change their trajectory by using their life experience into maybe writing a book about what they do, or single parent, what's it like to grow, I mean, there's so many things that people can do to have more, to manifest more wealth and more freedom in their life. And it's one of the things that gives me great joy. Number one, great joy is helping people awaken. But number two is helping people have a purpose and make more money, because then they have more freedom. In this particular world plane, there are a lot of different world planes that don't have anything like money. But this particular world plane is based on money. And it's fascinating to me how people would rather talk about their sex lives than money. And it's such an interesting thing and an easy thing to manifest if they just don't know how at the moment.
Yeah. So describe to us how you got to this point. So you kind of insinuated, started out as a rock star and something happened. So share with us your journey.
Well, it's an interesting journey. Thank you, Joshua. Driving from Brisbane in Queensland to Sydney in New South Wales, Australia, back in the day, we didn't have big freeways like you. It was just 2 lanes, left and right, and that was the highway. And so it took like 14 to 16 hours in a truck. And I was designated that day, I got the short straw to drive with the truck driver, because I would hire different trucks and different truck drivers. And we'd always have to make sure that there was someone in with the truck driver to make sure he got there to the gig on time and he didn't steal your instruments or whatever. We didn't have Google back then. We couldn't do searches on everyone. So that particular night, I was with the truck driver. And just as we hit Sydney, he fell asleep at the wheel. And as the passenger, he hit a telephone pole, and all the musical equipment went into me. And my body was crushed. I was buggered. I was gone. They said I would be gone by that night or the next morning or whatever. But I was in the hospital for months and months and months. And that accident, which was, you'd think for someone who was so lively on huge stages, and I would cover 5 foot nothing, 90 pounds of me back then, still only 5 foot, but I would cover the entire stage, dancing and singing. Loved entertaining. Been doing it since I was 5 professionally, so I really knew my stuff. And why was that the best thing that could have happened to a female rock singer in a great rock band? Well, the story goes from there, but you might have another question. I can keep talking.
No, yeah, I want to hear what happens next.
Well, I was in the hospital for a couple of months. I had been in traction, and one of the operations was nearly 19 hours long, and a lot of operations. Anyway, after the 2-month period, people were starting to bring in cassettes. And for the youngsters under 40, if you don't know what a cassette is, you can Google it. So I'd always have my little cassette player, because when I got a songwriting idea, I would have to sing it so I wouldn't lose it, because the short-term memory is a bugger, It's like, oh, what was that song idea?
Right.
How did the chorus go? So I would record it, thanks to Mick Jagger giving me that, not personally, but he gave that bit of advice on how he wrote Satisfaction. He woke up in the middle of the night and he was like, oh, that sounds like a really good chorus. I think Keith would love that. And then he was going to go back to sleep, and he decided to sing it. And the next day went to Keith's place and they wrote it in 10 minutes. But anyway, thank you, Mick Jagger. God bless you.
Wow. Nice story.
Anyway, so that's how I did. So I always had that cassette player. So people started putting on what they said was positive thinking audiobooks, which I'd never heard of. I heard of positive thinking, but I realized when I was listening to some of these tapes, I'd been doing that, Joshua, my entire life. I had used my willpower to create. If I liked a drummer in a band, I wanted him in my band, I got him. You know, I could just visualize something, and it was beyond visualization. I always had the power to create what I wanted, even if it was challenging to get what I wanted. A lot of hard work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Excuse the pun with my name, but I would still create it. So I knew that there must have been something in these affirmations that they were talking about. So what happened was I said, okay, well, all these people, Napoleon Hill and all these Louise Hay and all these people are saying you have to emotionalize an affirmation. And an affirmation is a positive statement you say to yourself about yourself, must be stated in the now. And then they said, but the trick is you have to emotionalize it. So I said, okay, positive statement that I want to have happen that hasn't happened. I am healed, wasn't healed. I know I am, totally didn't think I was. I love myself. I am my friend. No, very depressed, not quite suicidal, but couldn't imagine what my life was going to be like if I couldn't walk again.
Sure.
Let alone if I did, walk again. They said you'd have all these physical limitations, which I don't have. Anyway, I still, God bless those doctors. I'm like the bionic woman. I've got so many steel plates in my body, but I thank them for being able to do all of that. And then the mind did the rest. Spirit did the rest through the positive affirmations. So I said, I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend. I kept saying it over and over again. And after a few days, Joshua, I just stopped it because it wasn't working at all. Because the doubting mind was looking at the circumstances. Okay, you're in a hospital bed in traction. You're in huge pain. You're passing out every few minutes from the pain. Doctors are coming in and telling you we're going to have to do one more operation. We didn't get all the bone chips out, blah, blah, blah. So if you're in huge amount of physical pain or emotional pain, any sort of pain, that your doubting mind is going to say, no, that's not the truth. That's not the truth. That's not going to spit it out. So then I had an epiphany. I've been writing songs for years, and I'd even been writing jingles for advertising agencies, which I never told the band because that was very uncool, but it was good money and they never complained if they got a new drum kit. Anyway, advertising agencies spend billions of dollars a year on a jingle. They're smart. They know the psychology. They've known it for years. Once you have that song, that jingle in your head, you will never get the product out of your head. And you don't have to emotionalize that you like Toyota or you like Vegemite like we do in Australia. Everyone in the rest of the world hates Vegemite, but Australians love it because we're happy little Vegemites, as happy as can be. We're used to hearing the Vegemite song since we were babies.
Okay.
Anyway, so I said, okay. I said to my brother, go out and get me affirmation, positive thinking songs. And he went everywhere. He just went to all the different music stores. And then I said, go to those new age rubbishy stores.
Yeah.
And he said, they didn't have any. They have affirmations, yes, because he'd never heard an affirmation either. He said, but not with music. So I said, just put a blank cassette on for me and just put on record because I couldn't move. I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend. And Joshua, I sang that over and over until I filled 2 sides, 60 minutes of this particular cassette, excuse me. And if you sing without a warm-up, your nose gets itchy. It's interesting, the sinuses. Anyway, maybe the lady from Bewitched was a singer. Anyway, and so that particular affirmation song, the lyrics, the affirmations were going into the left hemisphere of my brain, and the melody, just from my singing without even music accompaniment, was going into the right hemisphere. And now I have done all this research. I've gone to Johns Hopkins, Berkeley, and found all this research done on positive music, even without the positive lyrics. So what happens is it goes into the subconscious mind 300 times faster. You just have to listen, just like with the jingle. You don't have to sing along. If you sing along, great, because I really believe my songs are fun and up vibe. But you just have to listen, and it goes into the treasury of your subconscious mind. Your doubting mind doesn't have a chance to say, next, I don't know. And so that was how it started. And I had no intention of that going out to the public, Joshua, because it wasn't like full on 48 channel mix, production like I was used to doing with my music. So I went into just a little 8-track studio, and with one of my songwriting partners, we went into the studio. I just kept getting these affirmation song ideas, and we wrote quite a few just for our own consciousness. I said, this will help the band so much. If this healed my body, imagine what it would do if we write about money and success, and I don't know, we make the world go round with our great music. I don't know what we'll do, but we'll just write a lot of affirmations. But then the press in Australia found out about my miraculous healing, because I had miraculous healing.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, my doctors just said, that's not possible. And you'll never wear high shoes again. I wore high shoes again, no problem. Anyway, nothing is impossible if you truly go for it. So what happened was then these promoters, from journalists to promoters, came to me and they said, we want you to tour all around Australia with these best-selling authors from America. And I said, what for? And they said, well, they teach about affirmations and visualization, and we think you'll bring in a younger crowd, and, because people know who you are in Australia. And they offered me so much money, and all I had to do was sing affirmations in between these speakers. They said, we've got Dr. Deepak Chopra, Stuart Wilde, Wayne Dyer. And I was like, I'm sorry, that don't impress me much, because I've never heard of them. They weren't in my trajectory at all. I'm rock and roll chick.
I give you some rock and roll bands, and then you'll be
exactly. And I work with some great rock and roll bands, but anyway, from overseas. But anyway, so the first gig we did was in Adelaide, and they said, make some CDs and sell them at the back of the room, or we'll sell them for you, and we'll just take a percentage. So they offered me so much money, I couldn't believe it. I wouldn't have made that much in a year for myself, even what they were paying me for each thing. Because back in those days in Australia, everything you got paid went to the agents, went to paying for the road crew. We had to pay for the double four-way, all our equipment, the trucks, everything. Back in those days, you had to pay for everything to go to venue. And so, we'd be lucky to have $40 each to live on. Michael Hutchence once borrowed money from my road crew from In Excess because he couldn't afford a burger. That was before they made it in America. It's just the way it was. So I was blown away by how much. And I said to the band, look, it's only a week touring around Australia. And they went, okay, great. And I said, it'll really help us with our next tour. So they were all in it. They were just happy I was healed. But then Deepak Chopra and Bob Proctor was a different tour I ended up going on.
Okay.
Just were raving on. They just said, you get the audience up on stage. It's like a rock concert. Got the lyrics for the affirmations. You've got them all rocking out to They're a Magnet to Money and all these different songs. They said, it's just incredible. Fancy. No one's done affirmations to rock music, pop music. And Deepak took me into writing a whole album called Self-Esteem Songs for Kids, which I did with all endangered baby animals and, stuff, and had all the kids singing along. But anyway, so that's how that all happened. But I had 500 CDs, and I was like, I've just absolutely overdone it. How am I ever going to sell 500 CDs? And the first gig, there were 3,500 people in Adelaide, Australia, and they all paid $300 each. This is in the late 80s, and I was blown away. What? Oh, and it was during the week, and it was like a daytime gig. I just couldn't believe it. By lunchtime, every CD had been sold from the first gig. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this is a different world, but I still had no intention of continuing in that world. But then I just kept getting asked. Overseas, and before I knew it, I was managing Bob Proctor's company in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and just things escalated from there until the next leg of my consciousness and my new trajectory happened. So I know I'm talking so long. Go ahead, Joshua, your turn.
So right. So we talked, you kind of went over the music and the affirmations, which that's kind of the thing that brought you into this whole world, other than which you basically did to heal yourself. I know that as I was kind of looking through your watching your video book, you talk a lot about meditation as well. Can you so how did meditation fall into this practice for you?
Well, I started reading Yogananda's book, Autobiography of a Yogi, Swami Muktananda's book, Play of Consciousness, Saint Teresa of Avila, just so many different. I was so into it. I couldn't stop reading all these mystical books. And so I started meditating on my own. Stuart Wilde, actually, who was he's left the body now, but he was really into meditation practice. And I'd worked with him too and got along with him so well. A Sicilian Cockney. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he had huge best-selling books all over the world. I don't know if they were huge in America, but everywhere else he was huge. And he was so irreverent, so funny, but very high consciousness. And we got along like a house on fire. And I helped his girlfriend, who was this mystical opera singer, to get record deals in different countries in Asia where I was living. And we got along like a house on fire. And he got me into meditation, really got me into meditation. But then I felt like this heart glow, Joshua, coming out of my chest. And I was like, what is this heart glow? And Bob Proctor said, that's your heart chakra is probably activated to a certain extent. And I was starting to read everything about chakras and what is it and the Sushumna and all this stuff. And he said, I had an enlightened teacher for 2.5 years. And he said, and then he left the body. And he said, I've never found another one since, but that's what you require because you're soul sick. You want to find God. So you've got to find someone who knows God, who is fully enlightened, fully awakened, not just a Kundalini splash, but a fully awakened. And I searched for 14 years in 26 different countries. I was on a mission to find an enlightened teacher. I found 2 definitely enlightened people. One was a Zen master in Japan who didn't speak English and said, I don't teach silly females, you know. And the other one was this guy that just manifested jewelry and stuff in India, but he didn't really teach. And I didn't like the facilities and the way the women weren't treated well, you know. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep searching. I came to America to work and to live. And because I loved a challenge. And I decided okay, that's not working for me, but I'll still keep meditating. And I'll just allow myself to know that I will find a teacher. I will find a teacher. What you are seeking is seeking you. And so I started doing gigs again, and I sort of started from scratch and started working all over America and learning annexes and all that sort of thing, which is what we were talking about earlier about Minnesota, Minneapolis. And then I met someone who I went to this other event where they said this Indian guy, Satguru, is enlightened. And I went and saw him. And then this young man, when I was looking at the CDs, came up to me and he said, do you think he's enlightened? And I said, I really don't know. I haven't met really. I think he's probably is because he's talked about Babaji and I've read so much about Babaji. How could he have met Babaji in the flesh unless he was a pretty awakened soul?
Yeah.
But I said, he's not going to be my teacher. I just, he started screaming at his wife, where's my tea? It's not hot enough. And I said, I've been there, done that with male Indian teachers. You've got to love your teacher. When you meet your teacher, apparently you just fall in love. So he said, look, I had an enlightened teacher, a Mahasiddha, a great being, an American man, and he's left the body. And that's why I'm searching now for another enlightened teacher, because once you've had one, you just can't go back to just normal living because you require that Shakti they send you to, transmit to you that light. And so he said, but I heard that one of his students who he said I knew has become enlightened 2 years after he left the body. So he said, let's go down and check it out. She just started teaching. And the minute I walked in, there was only 50 people. little, just a little tiny stage with just two little lights. And she just said, "Hi, everyone." And I saw light glowing from her. And tears started welling up in my, she's American. She's about 10 years younger than me.
Mm.
And I'm looking around at the rest of the people and I'm like, why aren't they welling up? Can't they see what's coming out of her hands?
Mm-hmm.
And she became my enlightened teacher. I went off the grid for nearly 12 years, stopped teaching, stopped doing all the things I was doing, and just studied with her all over the world, just studied and meditated until eventually I became awakened myself. And now she has retired, and now I am, the baton has fallen to me. And so that's how I got into meditation and deep mysticism. And that's why I love the manifestation book, because it's about doing it in a mystical way. And people don't understand, once they can have stillness in their mind, then when they visualize what it is they want, things, because they're oscillating at a faster frequency. So where that frequency is, there are other high frequencies that they immediately attract, sometimes without even having to visualize or even think about what they want. It just comes to you. And so I love to teach people that, because we are all here. The true purpose of our life is enlightenment, is freedom. And if people knew what it's like to not live in fear, because that's one of the main things you don't really notice at first, because it takes quite a few going through these Stargate experiences, incredible shaking of the body when you go through enlightenment. It's a full-on thing. It's not just, oh, wow, I had a little Kundalini rush. It is full-on. It's not for the faint-hearted, but I was a rock singer, so I was never faint-hearted.
You were living full on.
Yeah. So when you live without fear, you don't think about the past anymore. You don't think about the future. People are worrying about this or that. You never worry again. None of this is real. It's all illusion, and that anything that is required for your fulfillment and happiness and other people's. So now I love to pray for others and teach others in very, very fun, entertaining ways. And that's how that started.
You hear a lot about manifestation and affirmations and meditation, really all those things kind of tied together. What would you say? I'm sure you've worked with a lot of people that have come to you after they've had some other experience with these ideas. What is it that is most misunderstood about these types of things?
It's very easy. Once you explain it to someone, then they understand it, because otherwise they're frustrated. You could have this beautiful soul who is entirely wanting to have compassion, has compassion for the world, and doing great things in the world. And you can see that they're not full of ego. You can witness who they are, but they're still not manifesting what they want. And it's frustrating to them. They're like, is it bad karma? What is it? What's going on? And they're like, they always feel like they're just one fine little hair's breath away from feeling the full throttle of being able to manifest. So they listen to a few books, and, Bob Proctor, my friend, was on The Secret, and they go through these things, and then they start manifesting little things, but it's still, so they're coming back to the same frequency, because you can get pumped up for the day or read a book and it can bring you up for a little while, but then you go back to the original air conditioning.
Yeah.
But you've got to go higher and higher. So I explain to people in this way. I explain it to you, Lucy. Our higher self is this beautiful diamond. We are a diamond. We are light itself. Our higher self is what emanates every cell of our being. But what happens is, from past life and from early childhood onwards, anything that scared us, hurt us, or whenever we hurt somebody else, whenever we're in fear, those negative emotions start coating the diamond. And so you can't feel your God self anymore. You can't feel that hum that is within your body, just shaking you to the quick with bliss every day, that gives you strength. It's not some enlightenment, and this sort of practice isn't for the faint-hearted. It's something that makes you strong. And once you've experienced even a few things, you'll never want to go back again if it's real. But So what the affirmations do to start with, the affirmation music, because now that I'm awakened, I always transmit so much light into all of my music, all of my products, so people feel a hit of it when they listen to it. If they're awakened enough, they can feel it. And it depends on if I knew them before or not. You know, all those sort of things
Sure.
come into it. But as the affirmation music, they just have to listen to it. And with our apps, what's so great is they get notifications, so they don't even have to remember to listen to it.
Sure.
That brings them up to a higher oscillation through a different means of consciousness, not through them just getting pumped up for the day and then going back to the same oscillation. So they never go back. So maybe they're here and they're clearing it up, getting all those negative things, shining the diamond up, but there's still, there's still a few things going on there. So, but they're at a higher frequency. So they're starting to feel more. And sometimes they can feel a little bit oversensitive.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach them how to handle that as well. Because as our diamond becomes clearer, the shadow sides of ourselves that we didn't want to even look at, we'd rather complain about somebody else, watch too much television, eat too much, rather than face our own shadow sides, which must be faced just in a simple, loving way, so that you can release it and feel good about yourself. Because once you understand what you're afraid of, it's gone, never to return. And then once you get into doing the visualization, and the manifestation video book is great for that, because your doubting mind does not have a chance to reject it, because you're looking at all the positive images, listening to the voice covering the different topics, the music affirmation video at the end of each chapter. So you're having a full experience. So that way you don't have it. So you're oscillating at a higher frequency again. Then all of a sudden you just say to yourself, not I'm going to set a goal to start exercising. You just get up one morning and you start exercising. You start seeing opportunities that were always there. The divine always gives us every opportunity for us to succeed, particularly if you've done a few affirmations, you've asked for it. You've even written, if you're one of those rare people who've actually written down your intentions, the divine will be, it's like, I think of it like this. If you look at angels, this is just a metaphor, people. Gabriel says to Michael, I can't believe it, Michael. Gabriel's Irish. I can't believe it. There's someone down there actually praying, and they're sincere. They're writing down their intentions. Michael said, you got to be bloody kidding me, mate. Michael's Aussie. We better get on the pipeline and let everybody else know. And so all of a sudden, all these higher beings are there to assist that person. And it's sort of like that in a way. The light will come to you when you're ready for it. And even if you just begin by saying, not focusing on what you don't want, but focusing on what you would like to have. If you can sort of say to yourself, not sort of, but say to yourself, thank you, divine, for my beautiful life. And then ask yourself, what does a beautiful life look like to me? If my life was truly a beautiful, harmonious life, because harmony is perfection, if harmony was perfection, what would my life look like? And then you start writing down what it would look like, the sort of friends you have, the characteristics of those friends. Mm-hmm. They're loyal, they're in harmony, they've got great senses of humor. You don't want to have people that take their spirituality and their positive thinking and they get on their high horse so seriously.
Yeah.
That's no fun. So, yeah.
So you gave me a lot there. When people are starting to do these kinds of practices, do you have any? So I know you're giving apps. You have the recordings. Do you ever help people write their own types of affirmations?
I have something called the mystical experience, and I have members or students, whatever you choose to call them, from all over the world. And when we do our Zoom sessions, I've got a huge screen in front of me. everyone has a chance to ask a question. They can email it in beforehand. If there's time, I'll just ask them. And we do a lot of affirmations as well. And I always get them to get involved so they can understand. So if they've written an affirmation, they say it's not working, maybe they've reworded it incorrectly. And I'll say to them, what do you think that would go with music? I always encourage them, if they're writing their own affirmations, get some karaoke music that you love. Maybe it's Shake Your Boogie. And you could write your own affirmations and have not KC singing to you, which you know, but anyway, I love KC and the Sunshine Band. But anyway, what a great name too, the Sunshine Band.
Yeah.
Anyway, and and write your own affirmations. And in all my books, I teach how to write an affirmation as well. And all my books are audio books as well. And I have literally thousands of videos that I've done on every topic that you could imagine. We've got quite a few hundred of them on our YouTube channel. And I mean, they're all over the place, scattered all over the world on all different types of platforms. And you can watch any of them for free. And they just cover every topic you can possibly imagine. Visualizations for healing, for awakening. And I think the important thing to remember, when someone's listening to something like this and they go, okay, well, I'll give the visualization, the affirmations a go, but the meditation, nah. Okay, let me share something with you people. This particular show that Joshua does is very high in consciousness because he is. And so is beautiful Maria, his producer, who's so beautiful the way she writes her emails. Anyway, so this is for you. So if you're watching this or listening to this right now, you are a practicing mystic. Otherwise, you would not even be in the area of this vibration with Joshua to be interested in these topics. And so I really highly recommend that you, okay, I don't think about enlightenment. I never thought I could become enlightened. I didn't do it for enlightenment. I had it because I was soul sick and I loved God and I wanted to find out what God was all about. If you know, I didn't really understand it all yet, but I knew it was true. In the marrow of my bones, I knew that there was a higher being.
Yeah.
Anyway, so sometimes she just cuts out. Sorry. She takes me away. So I say to people, because I have students in all over the world, some of them don't even speak English and they still come on every week onto the Zooms because they feel the light. They meditate with me because I'm transmitting light to them as they do it. And the worst case scenario, if you practice meditation with me or you begin with another teacher, it's so important. I was practicing for years before I met my teacher, Kundalini. And then as soon as she started sending light to me, it helped my meditation practice hundreds %. Within a month, it just blew my mind. And so these people that come on my Zooms, even if they're just there to become magnet to money or learn about business or manifestation, what happens is, even if they're not interested in enlightenment, the worst case scenario is they become happier, they become healthier, they have lower blood pressure, and they become wealthier. So meditation practice is for stillness of the mind. When you can have stillness, even if there's noise around you, when you have that stillness, that hum in your heart, it's worth every little bit of practice. But you will feel it pretty much straight after just one Zoom with me. I mean, we've got so many testimonials, they can't all be lying.
Well, so as people are practicing meditation, and whether it's with you or somebody else, like you said, there's other ways that you can do this, and they're bringing in these affirmations, is there anything that they need to be aware of before they start doing this? Anything they should be cautious about?
Oh, God, no. No. Goodness me, no. God, goodness me, no. Be cautious, not of the affirmation music, because that's so positive. It's just simple little pop songs, you know, that you're doing instead of trying to do the affirmation yourself and spitting them out because you don't believe it, because your circumstances are saying that's not the truth. Beware of what you're watching on your computer. Don't go down rabbit holes of going into politics. Who cares, you know? Who needs to know? politicians are crazy. They're like actors, insane people. Not all of them. Obama, I loved you. So I think it's just important to focus on the positive and stop complaining about what's going on in the world. None of it's real anyway. Stop complaining about people, places, and things that you don't even know. Don't gossip. Don't complain about your loved ones. They'll feel it and they won't like you, and you wonder why they're bitchy to you. Wash up. Don't leave things in the sink. Make sure your house is clean. Don't have mess in your trunk of your car, or as we call it, the boot of your car. Make sure your wardrobe is clean and ordered. Make your bed. If you live in a place that's disorganized, it will disorganize your mind and you will go down in oscillation. When you have clarity, keeping everything, maybe not zen, because we do live in the West and we like our little knickknacks, but it'll make a difference if you can even if you just pay someone to declutter your house, because there's tons of them that do that now. That during the lockdown, so many people taught themselves how to do this, how to do that, and then they started, putting themselves on websites, and which I highly encourage. And that's another thing I love to do too with all of my students. If any of them have got a new website or a new book, I just let the world know about it.
One of the things that kind of is coming up for me, like as you're talking about all of what you do, is this really simple concept of focusing on what you want and not the thing you don't want. And I'm like you've said that several times, but if people did that, only that, it would probably increase the quality of their life an incredible amount. I don't know what the number would be. I'd be making up a number if I gave a percentage there, but 75% better than it is when you're focusing on the negative.
I did this great infomercial, and I had some wonderful people that I'd worked with over the years on stage with them, Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy, who did testimonials on my, Bob Proctor, of course, on my infomercial for me. And this is a long time ago. And Brian and I got along really well because he loves to break the shackles. He's an amazing sales teacher and best-selling author, just a lovely, lovely, sweet man. And he just loved my singing affirmations. He just couldn't believe that no one had done it before. And he just said, it is amazing, because he loved one of my products that I did with Bob Proctor called Turbocharged Goal Setting. And we teach people, there's an audio and there's a workbook, and it teaches people how to cut down into bite-sized, actions
Chunks.
on what to do and how to do it. And Brian said, look, that's one of the main things I teach. And he said, I can't believe the amount of people that don't write down their goals. And he said, the ones that do, and the ones that write down their goals as if it's already happened, he said at least 8 out of 10 of them have their goals happen. And the ones that don't write down their goals will rarely. It'll be such a low percentage. And so, because I said to him, I think one of the main reasons people don't do it is they don't know what they want. All they say is, I want more money. I'll be a great philanthropist if I have money. So they don't feel guilty about wanting money. I'm a spiritual being. Should I want money?
Right.
So it's so true. If you can write down your intentions, and like I said before, if you just write down your beautiful life and write down what that looks like as if it's already happened, it is incredible. And then you can do your own little movie. Like I did the manifestation. You can go to Canva and start putting yourself in cars that you want to drive, making sure that they're good for the atmosphere, Tesla, anyone, and the sort of home you want to live in, and just these things will manifest for you. And the higher you go in oscillation and the more confident you become, you don't get scared, and you don't stop your intention by saying, oh, it doesn't work, or being so attached to it. I'm going to will it into being.
Yeah.
You don't want to be constipated about it. You want to be smoothly going down that river. Row, row, row your boat gently down that stream. and just allow yourself to visualize that it's happened, and don't get into strong willpower. It's not about screaming and yelling, although that's fun sometimes at my events. It's about just allowing yourself to not be attached. Have whatever you want in your life, but don't be attached to how it's going to happen, who's going to bring it to you, or any of that type of nonsense. Because the way our higher self works, this is a dream. At last, quantum physics, these scientists are proving just a few months ago, Joshua, that, they're like, oh my God, consciousness is real. We've proven it now. And they said in this study, you can't see it though, but we've managed to create what we think the pattern of consciousness is. You can't see it, and you really can't sort of really feel it, but trust us, from our work, it is real. Buddha's going, tell me about it. So, but I love the fact that science is, and then like last year, they found out we're all holograms. We're not real and we're not solid. And black holes aren't really black holes. So I love to teach people about the latest science that is proving about mysticism and about that we are just consciousness, because the naysayers from back when I used to first teach, there wasn't any scientific proof at all that this had happened. I'm sorry if I wasn't looking directly in the camera. There's a new thing on top of it, and I keep thinking that's the camera lens, but it's not. It's the one underneath. So
it looks great.
I was looking at you. It's like, I'm looking at your higher self, Joshua. Anyway.
My higher self can feel it, Michele.
You can feel it. So, yeah.
How can people, if somebody's interested in learning more about you or all of these, these recordings or your manifestation books or like all the multiple things you do, what is the best way for them to get in touch with you or learn about you?
Good question, Joshua. I just so happen to have a link that is going to give your beautiful followers, your friends, your listeners, your watchers. You go to Michele Blood, and it's not a rock and roll name. It's Irish. It's my father's name, Blood. MicheleBlood.com/super states. And you will get the manifestation video book chapter, my favorite chapter, which will really get you interested. Are you a mystic? And you get to really think about the questions, then the answers. Oh, that's true. I did do that. Oh, yeah, I hate people telling me what to do. It's like you work out, oh, I have that within me. I'm quite an independent spirit. Who knew? God did. And the Magic of Affirmation Power book, and my favorite album that Bob Proctor actually did some of the affirmations with the lyrics for this album.
Nice.
I love you, Bob. He left the body a couple of years ago. Songs for Success, all free. So MicheleBlood.com/super states.
Love it.
Yeah, just help yourself.
I'll make sure to get that in the show notes as well. Michele, what is the one thing that you want the audience to leave with today?
That you are not alone. Everything is possible for you. You don't need to know how to do it right now. But if you just allow yourself to know that all things are possible for you, even if you don't believe that is true right now, it doesn't stop it being a fact. A fact. And you have the same physiology and chakras and empowerment within you. Once your diamond is just polished even just a little wee bit, you will start feeling it. And you know within yourself, you can remold your entire life. Trust me on this. You can remold your body, your health, your career, everything. It's just one step at a time. Everything is just one step at a time. And that you are loved. If you knew how loved you were, you would pass out this very moment. Did you pass out?
I felt that. Thank you so much, Michele. This has been a beautiful conversation, really an incredible person, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Joshua. God bless you.
Wow, I really enjoyed that conversation with Michele. Who knew that you could combine affirmations with music and with meditation for a powerful tool to heal and manifest your life? Uh, of course, thoughts and words are energy, and that shapes your reality. So, with the right focus, anything can be done. If you enjoyed this episode, hit the like button, follow the show, share this show with someone who might benefit from what Michele had to say. And for more transformative talks, check out previous episodes. And until next time, stay curious, keep growing, and embrace your transformation.